Welcome to Piano Inspires podcast, celebrating pianists, teachers, and innovators as they share their inspiring stories about the transformative power of music.
Are you passionate about piano and keyboard education? Then mark your calendars for an event that's set to elevate your teaching skills to new heights. The National Conference for Keyboard Pedagogy is back, and it's bigger and better than ever. Join us for our online conference on June 7 and 8, 2025, and our in-person conference, July 23 to 26, 2025, in Lombard, Illinois, for an unforgettable gathering of educators, performers, and industry experts. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this conference offers something for everyone. Dive into workshops led by renowned instructors, discover cutting-edge teaching techniques, and connect with like-minded individuals who share your love for music education. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to learn, grow, and be inspired. For more information, visit nckp2025.com today.
Hello, I'm Craig Sale, Senior Editor for Piano Magazine and Director of Online Courses for the Francis Clark Center. And I'm so happy to be here today with Samantha Coates. Samantha is a pianist, teacher, and music publisher from Sydney, Australia. She completed her Bachelor of Music degree at the Sydney Conservatorium, majoring in piano performance. She is the author and publisher of Blitz Books, a series that has brought music theory into the 21st century. Her aim is to make music more fun and accessible to all instrumentalists through a more holistic approach to the teaching of music theory. Samantha also enjoys staring at the ocean, going for long walks, and camping with her family. So I'm so glad to get this chance to meet you and to learn about all of the work that you do and to share it with our people. I have seen a few of your videos and found them very, very entertaining, but also with substance. So I'm just really looking forward to this time together.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I am too.
We always start these discussions back at the beginning with the early years, to see how music came into your life and what those first experiences, first teachers were like. So what can you tell us about that?
Yes. Well, my first experience was probably my grandmother teaching me how to play a couple of tunes. And then it was my grandmother who convinced my mother that I should have piano lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So that was when I was around 5 years old.
Oh.
And I started with a local piano teacher who was she was Russian,
Mm-hmm.
and but she lived in Sydney, Australia. And I started with her, and then about 9 months into the lessons, apparently I was refusing to practice, so my mother took the lessons away.
Oh.
And my grandmother and Mrs. Scoblin, my teacher, were both mortified, absolutely mortified. And my mother was like, well, she's not practicing. And I mean, I blog about people like my mother now. Like, how can you expect a 5-year-old to just go and practice?
Exactly.
And then, so I didn't have piano lessons anymore. And then when I was apparently about 6.5, I went and we had a piano in our house because my dad used to play. And apparently I went and started tinkling. And then my mum said, would you like to have your lessons back, Samantha? And luckily I said, yes, please. Otherwise I wouldn't be here right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you remember that taking away of the lessons, or is that something you've been told?
It's a story I've been told. I do not remember that at all. I remember myself being a very diligent practicer. I really responded to the strict nature of my lessons. It was just scales and arpeggios and pieces. And I had a very traditional pianistic upbringing. And it's nothing like what I teach now.
Right.
So then I sort of, was a good girl and did my practice and did piano exams and things like that. And then I got accepted into a music high school. And that changed things a lot for me. So
And tell us more about that. I mean, was there a particular teacher or
I had to
experience
leave
with it?
my Russian piano teacher, and then I studied under a couple of different teachers there. It wasn't so much, I think the teachers didn't have as much of an influence on me as my peers did. Suddenly I was in an environment where everybody was really, really accomplished musician. Whereas in my primary school, my elementary school, like I was the star who played the piano. No one else played the piano. I probably practiced 40 minutes a day, if that. And now I'm around people who are practicing 2, 3, or 4 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
So I really upped my game. And I thought I would be, like everybody else thinks, oh, I'm going to be a concert pianist or something like that.
Okay.
But I didn't. I wasn't ever really that good, I think.
Yeah.
So by the time I finished school, though, I'd been to a music high school. I only really knew music, so I didn't really have any other interests of what I wanted to pursue. So I just did a Bachelor of Music, majoring in performance. And then I started teaching out of necessity, as a lot of people do.
Right.
At that point, teaching was not my passion. It was just my income. And so I feel like I've been teaching for nearly 4 decades now. And I can honestly say that teaching is my absolute passion, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But it just didn't start that way.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, how did it change for you? Was there a pivot point, or was it just sort of cumulative?
There was a pivot point. So I think I just taught the way I was taught, and I also had very little PD. There's not a lot of professional development in Australia. There are no real national conferences to speak of. There's occasionally one every 2 years. It's not very well attended. But it was when I went at, well, how can I best put this? I was teaching a lot in groups, and I became very interested in the teaching of music theory. And there are particular texts in Australia that everybody has used for generations and generations, including myself. But they're really, really boring textbooks. And one day I just suddenly had this idea. I could write a book. I could write funny books. I could write books along this syllabus, but they would be entertaining. And so I wrote this series of theory textbooks. So this is back in 2000. And then, and I'm sort of ashamed to say this, the first time I attended a piano teacher conference was because I had a trade display for my books.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I went to some sessions, and that was a turning point. Because I'd never really been to a conference before. And what I discovered was that every session you go to, if you're a fairly inexperienced teacher, and I'd been teaching for about 15 years by this point, if you're fairly, and I'd call that inexperienced really, every session you go to is either eye-opening and you learn something, or validating because you already do it. But it doesn't feel boring because you just think, wow, like I already do that. Or, oh my gosh, what great ideas. And then I was sold on professional development. And that was probably a turning point of really getting into pedagogy. The other thing is that pedagogy is not taught in Australia. You can just do a degree in performance or in classroom education, but not private music education.
So your exploration into pedagogy has been through attending conferences.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, pretty much. Through attending conferences and then getting to know other teachers. And then working with my own peers and just gradually becoming more and more interested in how things are done. And then it's interesting hearing you read out my bio because that's actually a really old one, I think, because it said it only mentioned music theory. Because at the time at first I only had music theory books, but then I started writing sight reading books because I became very passionate on the way that sight reading was taught because I was a good sight reader, but I tried to drill down into why I was a good sight reader. What was it that I was actually looking at when I was looking at the page? And then that from there also has grown on to me publishing materials that bring rote teaching and sight reading together. So I feel like I'm just a different person from the person who graduated from Bachelor of Music.
Well, that I have so many questions to ask you now. The first one is, can you just kind of in a nutshell share what you learned about why you were a good sight reader?
Yes, I became a good sight reader when I went to that music high school
Okay.
because I accompanied all my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I was one of 2 pianists in my class, and the rest were instrumentalists.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great for them to get accompanists for free. So we all accompanied each other.
Yeah.
And that's what made me a good sight reader, just constantly having things thrown at me.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
doing it.
Yeah.
So I think the only way you can become a good sight reader is to do it all the time. But then I started to just drill down into, well, when I look at a page, I'm analyzing that page. What am I seeing? I'm seeing patterns. I'm seeing chords. I'm seeing inversions. I can analyze it, see the harmony.
Yeah.
I can recognize intervals. I can recognize chord shapes.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't just start playing. You're actually seeing all these different things, and it's really it's been a journey to articulate, even in my own mind, what is that I'm seeing, because then I started writing materials that broke down all those elements of sight reading.
Yes.
So first we're seeing rhythm, we're seeing intervals, we're seeing chords.
Right. Well, and that's interesting because I've always been a strong reader, but I think I'm not aware that that's what I'm seeing. And so many times then when I get around to memorizing something, I feel like I'm learning the piece over, because that's when I finally have to identify the stuff that my brain, took shortcuts with in it. So thank you. I learned something already.
That's awesome.
But I'm really intrigued about the idea of pedagogy in Australia. And so you're on this path of, exciting discovery and exploration and everything. How in your country are there new avenues opening up so that there can be more interest and involvement with pedagogy? Do you see any changes in that coming?
I think I did see quite a few changes prior to COVID. And as you know, I think worldwide, COVID has dampened down the general attendance at live things.
Okay.
It was always a struggle to get an audience to a workshop.
Right.
But now it's a real struggle to get an audience to a workshop. So doing the way that I would get myself out there was by running workshops, professional development workshops, because there weren't really the conferences available for me to do that. Even our music teacher organizations they don't really run regular professional development. So I just, out of necessity of being a publisher and wanting to get my own materials out there, I would go and speak. And then I really enjoyed speaking, and I just wanted to speak on general pedagogical topics. So the presentations that I started doing were not salesy at all. I wasn't just going around trying to flog my books. It was, I would speak on a topic that was interesting to teachers. And then if they came and liked what I had to say, then they would respect me as a musician, as a pedagogue, and then that might lead to sales. And that is pretty much kind of what happened. So I've managed to build up a reputation through doing pedagogical presentations, I guess. As well as publishing materials.
Right. And then you mentioned your blog, and then I know there's some YouTube videos and things like that. So is that, obviously that's another way that you reach out to the community.
Yes. Yeah, I do. My husband gave me some very, very sage advice early on. He said, people will buy your books if they like you. So
that's true. I mean, why if you go and give a presentation and people don't like you, you've lost an important part of the connection.
You have to be kind of in the community. You have to be relatable and approachable. And I like being in the community, and maybe that's what resonates. But I really like what's become the most valuable thing to me now is to be someone who's respected in my community. I like that. And so the blog, I only ever blog about things when a topic comes to me. I don't have a regular publishing schedule or anything like that with the blog. And the videos have just come about here and there from workshops,
Right.
Or funny videos that I've put on YouTube.
Yeah. I think it was in your bio, and when you've already talked about making theory fun, and I know the video I watched recently was very enjoyable about why mnemonics don't work, and so I'm just I'm kind of wondering where does the humor or the need, not need, but the fact that you use humor as part of your technique.
That's
Where does that come from? And anything you want to share about that and its role in the way you teach people and students?
Yes, thank you for asking that. I really, really like that question.
Good.
I think humor is a hugely important part. And that was the thing that I was including in my books, my theory books, which were following the exact same syllabus as these other more boring theory books that everybody had been using for eons. So I think that people learn better if they're having a good time. And if a student has a little bit of a giggle while they're doing a theory worksheet, they're going to just do better.
Right.
So I think the incorporation of humor and lightheartedness is very important. And I've always used language that's very user-friendly. So whereas a theory text might say, using 2 crotchet rests instead of a minim rest is somewhat I'm trying to think of the right word. Unnecessary, somewhat unnecessary. I would never say the word somewhat in my text. So I would say, in general, it's better to use a minim rest instead of 2 crotchet rests. Oh, I've just realized I'm talking Australian.
Yes, you are.
Yes. So
we can be bilingual.
Yeah.
It's
Okay. I think that it's so important to use casual language and humor. So I'd have jokes thrown in the books here and there. And also I think that thanks to my dad's very dry sense of humor, that is just the way I am. I do like to crack jokes. So having a presentation that involves humor is going to be much more enjoyable for the people who are attending.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing about the mnemonics presentation is that what somehow, I don't know, it came off very well. I came here for the first time, came to the States for the first time in 2017 to MTNA in Baltimore.
Oh.
And I did that mnemonics presentation.
Oh, did you? Oh.
And it made people laugh because it was so true. If we change the names of the notes, no one knows what's going on. And it doesn't even matter because we can sight read music without knowing any names of any notes.
Right.
Because it's all just relative to, So humor has always been part of my brand, I guess I would say. But just because it's probably part of me.
Yeah. Do you still have a studio that you teach?
Yes, I do.
All right.
And I love that. It's not a huge studio. I have about 25 students.
Oh, that's a good size.
Yeah,
That's a
I
good
like
size.
it because I like, if every time I come up with an idea, I need people to try them out on.
Right.
So
yes, that's right.
yeah, and if you don't have any students, and just have a bunch of ideas, that's a shame. You can't pilot things.
Yeah. Right. And so obviously that same humor, because it's part of your personality, comes out in your lessons, I'm sure.
It does come, yes. I think I can safely say that my students leave feeling either just as good or better than when they came. And that's a really nice bit of feedback that I get from parents from time to time.
Right. Well, and it's interesting. I've never really given thought to humor in teaching, although I mean I have a sense of humor and share it with my students, and you do that, but if you think about classical music and education, there's not a humorous bone in there.
That's true.
And
it's true.
And it's funny that we've just never thought about it. And what you did was you thought about it and valued it, and then
included it.
And included it. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. In your work, I know you've got the internet to share things on, but do you get to travel a lot to the States or other countries to attend conferences and present at conferences? How is that? What's your life like now?
Well, the first time I went overseas to present at a conference was 2017.
Uh-huh.
And between 2017 and February 2020, I did a lot of traveling and presenting.
Okay.
And that was really, really nice to be able to meet teachers in the US and also in the UK.
Right. Yeah.
And then, of course, it all fell apart.
Right.
But in some ways, it even opened more doors because during COVID, every single piano teacher in the whole world had to learn how to do things online.
That's right.
And we all became connected just that little bit more. We were all going through quite a traumatic thing in our businesses all together. And through that, people started doing webinars. And through that, you could reach a very much wider audience than if you're trying to organize a workshop in a local print music store. Yeah. So in some ways, COVID helped because the audiences became more accessible and I became more accessible. So it opened up a whole new avenue of presenting. But then interestingly, I got so sick of presenting online because it is quite disheartening. And I like to use humor, as you know. Yeah. But you know what? You don't know if anyone's laughing at your joke.
That's right. Just thinking of that.
It's just terrible. So I just thought, it was actually just last year, I thought, I just don't want to present online anymore. I really want to present in person. How can I do this? And Australia doesn't run many conferences, and I wasn't really ready to go overseas again. So I actually thought, how can I bribe piano teachers to come to my house and listen to me present?
Oh, wow.
And so I've started a series of events called Pizza, Pinot, and Pedagogy. So
I love it.
They come to my house. I give them pizza and Pinot and the pedagogy.
And the pedagogy.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And that has actually started fostering a really great sense of community amongst Sydney piano teachers. It's been lovely. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. Because that's an interesting point too. There is about, we think of conferences and going and learning and also, but it's the one time when we can be together as a community. And we during COVID we strived to have connectedness, through Zoom, and we learned how to do that. But at least for me and many people I know, when it was over, or we were free at last to meet in person, it was being together in a more meaningful way because of that separation, and community became, I think we realized, it's about community and having that, because otherwise it can be a rather lonely existence.
Absolutely. I think that there have been two major things that have changed piano teachers' lives. The first one was Facebook. Because suddenly you could instantly communicate with people and find out that you weren't the only one who had students who didn't practice. And you weren't the only one that had parents who didn't pay. And that was incredible for piano teachers to have community in piano teacher groups. And then I think COVID was the second one, because everybody was scrambling together and we were helping each other as well.
Yes. Yeah.
That was good. And so now I think it's a matter of I think almost everybody is coming back now to the in-person events, but there could be more. Some people have gotten very used to sitting at home and getting their PD brought to them online. They think, I'll just watch it later or listen to the replay or what have you. But it's so valuable to be in a room chatting and meeting teachers.
Right. And just as it's valuable to be in a room listening to a concert together.
Yes. Yes. The live music shared experience, that shared experience, so important.
And those two, I mean, we had, I'm sure many listeners and myself and you attended concerts that were virtual, and at the time when you couldn't hear anything, it was wonderful. And I felt very satisfied with those performances. But then again, it's like, you get back to that live experience, and there's really nothing that can replace that feeling that can be it's unspoken, but it's in the room, but everybody's feeling that same thing.
That's right. Yes.
So it's an interesting world and experience that we've all been through, and I think we're still learning
Yes.
from that. So, our tag, or actually our name of our website is Piano Inspires. And so we like to know about inspirations. And I'm wondering who inspires or inspired you in your life and work, and also what music inspires you.
Okay. I will try to answer all of that. In my life in general, the person who inspires me is my husband.
Wonderful.
He is my rock and my barometer of reasonableness for everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of music, I'm very inspired by my peers and learning from them. I do love that. But there was one particular inspirational moment that happened in 2017 in Baltimore when I went to a session called Rote is Not a Four-Letter Word.
Oh.
And it was run by Julie and Catherine, who have written Piano Safari.
Yes.
And that, I have to say, that session changed my life, because it was the reason that I gave rote teaching a try, which being brought up in the Russian piano method, I'd never done before. And that has inspired me to write an entire repertoire series that brings rote and reading together. And that is such a big part of my life and has changed the way I teach and has got me inspired to then teach more creatively as well, that I'd have to give them credit for that as to who has inspired me.
Yes.
But on an ongoing basis, people that I've worked with, like, just to be able to have fellow piano teachers to run things by is so beautiful. And then what music inspires me, it's really interesting because I tend to not listen to music for leisure, which is kind of odd for as far as most people go. But I listen to music so analytically when I am listening to it that I have to give it my whole attention.
Right.
So I don't have music on in the background while I'm doing something else because I get too distracted by the music. But if I was going to sit down and just listen to music and just listen to it, it would probably be Bach.
Ah, okay. And be very satisfied analyzing while you're listening.
Yes. Yes, maybe that's
Much
why.
there for you.
Yes. Yeah.
I forgot one thing I wanted to ask you about. In another bio that I saw of yours, not the one that I read, it mentioned that at one point you had a playing injury and that you did a project that stimulated another publication. And I wanted to ask you about that.
Yes, I got tendinitis in my elbow, and I'm not sure if it was necessarily from practicing. I think it might have been a repetitive strain injury from something else.
And exacerbated by playing something.
Yes. I was finding it very difficult to play the piano. And so I went and had some lessons with a Taubman teacher. And I attended a Golansky symposium and learned so much, and I completely overhauled my posture and my technique. It was like starting from scratch in terms of playing scales and arpeggios.
Right.
And I learned so much about which keys are ergonomic and which keys are not. And I started to become inspired by the fact that when we learn piano, we learn from a notation perspective so often, and we start in C major, but it's really not the most comfortable key to play in. And certainly not both thumbs on middle C when you've got ulnar deviation and all of that going on.
Exactly.
Yes. So learning about that made me sit down and think about what does it mean to really feel comfortable when you play, and what keys are you comfortable in. And that sort of happened around the same time of being inspired to write rote pieces. And so I was writing them in keys that were ergonomic.
Okay.
So it kind of all came together that if you're going to teach someone to play something by rote, well, let's do it in a key that feels comfortable.
Wow.
Now, B flat minor, for example, is a wonderfully comfortable key to play in, but it's horrible on the page.
Yes.
It's just horrible, which is why it needs to be taught by rote. But then my mission was to be able to still get the student to engage with the score for that piece.
Right.
Reading doesn't have to be completely separate. We can still say, this is what you just played, and what can you pick out from that score? And here's another version. It's slightly different. And can you see the differences? So that was my mission, to make it that it's still the beginnings of all reading skills, to be able to recognize some elements on a page. Just like a toddler can pick out some words when they're being read a story.
Right. Okay, wonderful. This is a heavy question.
Ooh,
but I
okay.
think it's a good one for you. I think it's a really good one. And that is, how are you, or how is your work changing the world?
How is my work changing the world?
Or how do you hope it is?
Yes. Okay. I hope. All right. My hope is that my work is helping students not only be unafraid to engage with a score, and not think of reading music as difficult, but also to be not afraid to take it further and be creative and play what's not on the page, as well as play what is on the page, because that was something I was never, ever taught to do.
Right.
But it's something I do teach now.
Yeah.
And being creative at the piano and having recreational music skills that you can take into the future is what music is. It's you could practice a Chopin nocturne for years and years and years, and then the second you stop practicing it, you can't play it anymore if you don't keep doing it. And you'll have no access to it if you can't sight read it back, or try to play it by ear, or just try to create something that sounds a bit like that. So I guess my hope is that my work is changing the world by just making music joyful and accessible.
Yeah. I was just going to say accessible. That's what you're going for there. Then in terms of impact, and this is more of a societal question, what impact do you think music is having in our world now? If any?
Oh, yes. I think music is having a huge impact. Well, for example, Taylor Swift just did her tour of Australia. I'm not necessarily a fan of Taylor Swift's music, mostly because when I'm listening to it, I'm analyzing it and all I hear is the chord progressions, really. I'm not listening to lyrics. So the chord progressions are pretty much the same in a lot of her songs. So I'm not inspired by her music, but there are so many people who were inspired by her lyrics. But I was very, very, very caught up in the Taylor Swift mania. When she was in Australia, it was just like the whole country was in such a good mood because she was there. And I thought, she is a role model for music. It doesn't matter whether you like her music or not. She's doing it. She's there. And I have students coming in wanting to play her music. And of course, so I say, sure, what song is it? We listen to it on Spotify. We figure out the chords. We play it. And so her music is having a massive impact. And anything that gets people wanting to listen to music, whatever that music is a good thing. But in terms of, as a piano teacher, like we tend to be mired in classical music. And that is, it's sometimes becoming, I guess, less and less relatable in a way as we get further away from that period of time. But that used to be the popular music of the day.
Right.
One day, maybe Taylor Swift will be unrelatable in 300 years' time.
Right.
So music is evolving. And I don't know if I've really answered your question.
Well, no, I think you have. I mean, and I would just add to that, our society evolves too. So we're always changing, but I think the thing that struck me in what you said was how music has this ability to impact community in positive ways. Whatever the music is, Australia was happy for a time,
Yes.
And that's something I think we need to value more about music. It's not just this fluffy commodity that we can purchase or we can maybe play ourselves. It does have a role in our world. Why else would we have been doing it for centuries? I mean, since creation, there's been some type of music going on.
Yes.
And I guess then this sort of segues into another question, which is about the future. And do you see, what are your thoughts on how music might shape our future?
Oh, yeah, these are heavy questions.
I know at the end, these questions get heavier.
Well, from a pedagogical point of view, how music might shape our future is that music can be more accessible to more people. The more music is taught in a way that ensures recreational music making in the future, rather than just the study of difficult pieces to pass a certain exam and then stopping.
Yes.
That means people will grow up and play music for pleasure and play music for entertainment and gather around a piano for entertainment instead of gathering around an iPad.
Yes.
And I think that the way that I teach, which is so different to the way I taught 20 years ago, is probably going towards that, to make sure that people have these leisure skills in music. And then they can take that into adulthood and enjoy their instruments. And then they can be supportive to their kids who are learning an instrument, and for there to be a culture wherever there is an instrument, just to get together and play together.
Right. So the answer to that question I asked you is our future will have us being brought together by music. And, and I think that, as you mentioned, it's music is accessible, but it's very accessible. You can click a button and hear it. But that idea of active music making to bring people together, that's how the future of our world gets impacted. Not so much by pushing a button.
Absolutely.
At least that's my thought.
That's right. And it comes back to what you were saying. It's just not listening to music on a CD, but the shared experience of being in a concert together is so important. And the shared experience of playing music together is so important.
Right. And we just have to hope and keep working that our world recognizes that.
Yes.
And starts to value that more.
Yes.
And along with that, the work that teachers do to help make that happen.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why you're here, is because you're an example of a teacher who has, first of all, I think it's wonderful the self-exploration that you've done, and then really kind of going it alone to make it different and to make music more accessible. And by doing that, you change the world. So thank you for that.
Well,
it's a wonderful example, I think, for all of us. So one more question. It's the final question we ask everybody.
Oh, okay.
And that is, how does piano inspire you?
How does piano inspire me? I love it that it is a piece of furniture in my house that is lovely to look at and that everybody admires when they come in. And I feel a sense of inspiration when I go to sit down at it to play. And my absolute favorite thing to do is to purchase new sheet music that might be good for my students and then sight read through those books. And while I'm sitting there doing it, the sight reading of the pieces, I think to myself, I'm so lucky that I can do this. So lucky that I get to just sit here and play these pieces and think, who will this be good for? Who will that be good for? That's going on in my head while I'm sight reading. So it's kind of multitasking. And I do feel a sense of inspiration from that, wow, there's this skill that has taken a lifetime to build, and now I'm able to pass it on.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, thank you, Samantha, for spending this time with me and with our listeners to talk about your life and your work. It's been really great to get to know you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
The Francis Clark Center is a not-for-profit educational organization that serves the advancement of piano teaching, learning, and performing. Divisions include Piano Magazine, Piano Inspires Kids, Journal for Piano Research, National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy, the New School for Music Study, Piano Education Press, International Online Teacher Education, and Piano Inspires Online Community Hub. Please visit us at pianoinspires.com to learn more about our impactful work and inspiring community.